The Amazon jungle was unforgiving, a vast, impenetrable wilderness that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. Our mission was clear: infiltrate the drug lord's compound, gather intel, and dismantle the operation. We'd been briefed on the terrain, the threats, and the enemy, but nothing could have prepared us for what was waiting out there. We were a squad of 6, each of us seasoned, battle-hardened soldiers with countless missions behind us. There was Ramirez, our point man, sharp-eyed and quick on his feet. Rodriguez, the heavy gunner, a hulking figure with a wicked sense of humor. Vargas, our tech specialist, always tinkering with something, his fingers never idle. Lopez, the medic, a calm presence amidst the chaos. And me, the team leader. Last but not least, there was Daniels, our sniper, who could hit a target from half a mile away, no matter the conditions. The mission itself went off without a hitch. We navigated through the dense jungle, avoiding patrols and booby traps, and took out the drug lord's guards with surgical precision. The compound was a sprawling mess of dilapidated buildings hidden deep in the jungle, but we stormed it with the efficiency of a well-oiled machine. By the time the drug lord realized what was happening, it was too late. We had him in cuffs and the intel secured. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and red, we knew it was time to get out. The extraction point was a clearing a few clicks away, and the chopper was on its way to pick us up. We moved quickly, but something didn't feel right. The jungle seemed quieter than usual, as if the very air was holding its breath. When the chopper arrived, we thought we were home free. We climbed aboard, the rotors kicked up a storm of leaves and dust, and we were off, soaring above the treetops. But then, the unexpected happened. A mechanical failure, sudden and catastrophic. The chopper shuddered, the pilot cursing over the comms as the controls went dead. "We're going down," he shouted, but we were already bracing for impact. The jungle rushed up to meet us. We crashed through the canopy, branches and vines tearing at the metal as the chopper plummeted. I remember the impact, hard, jarring, and then everything went dark. When I came to, the chopper was a twisted wreck. The pilot was dead, his body crumpled against the dashboard. Outside, the jungle loomed, dense and suffocating. I dragged myself out, my head pounding, and found the others. They were alive, but barely. Ramirez was nursing a broken arm. Lopez had a nasty gash across his forehead, and Rodriguez was coughing up blood. "Is everyone accounted for?" I asked, my voice hoarse. "Daniels," Vargas muttered, his face pale. "She didn't make it." I felt a knot tighten in my chest. We'd lost our sniper, one of the best, but there was no time to mourn. We were stranded in the middle of the Amazon, night was falling, and we had no idea what was out there. We salvaged what we could from the wreck: rifles, ammunition, first aid kits. There was no chance of radioing for help. The comms were shot, and the jungle was too dense to risk sending up a flare. We were on our own. The jungle was alive with noise, chirping insects, rustling leaves, distant calls of animals. But it was the silence that worried me. Every now and then, the sounds would stop, as if the entire jungle was listening, waiting. It set my nerves on edge. We moved as fast as we could, but the terrain was rough and every step felt like a struggle. We didn't know where we were going, just that we had to keep moving. The underbrush was thick, branches and roots snagging our boots, and the air was heavy with moisture, each breath a labor. Then, without warning, the jungle came alive with screams. It was Rodriguez. He'd been at the rear, keeping an eye out for any threats. One moment he was there, the next he was screaming. We turned, weapons at the ready, but all we saw was a blur of movement, something dark and fast, dragging Rodriguez into the undergrowth. His screams were desperate, pleading, and then they were cut off with a sickening crunch. "Stay together," I ordered, my heart hammering in my chest. But fear had already taken hold. Vargas was muttering prayers under his breath, his eyes wide with terror. Lopez gripped his rifle so tightly his knuckles were white. Ramirez was breathing hard, his broken arm hanging useless at his side. We pushed forward, but it wasn't long before the next attack. This time it was Vargas. He was just behind me when something massive, burst out of the jungle and slammed into him. He let out a choked cry as he was lifted off his feet and thrown into the trees. We fired wildly, bullets tearing into the undergrowth, but whatever it was too fast. We heard the sound of flesh being torn, bones snapping, and then silence. "We need to keep moving," I said, but the words felt hollow. We were being hunted, picked off one by one. I couldn't see what was coming for us, and that was the worst part. Fighting an enemy you couldn't see, couldn't predict. We reached a small river, its waters dark and sluggish, the surface slick with algae. There was a narrow footbridge, a rickety thing made of wood and rope. We had no choice but to cross. Ramirez went first, his steps unsteady, followed by Lopez. I was the last. Halfway across, I heard a splash behind us. A deep, resonant sound that made the hairs on the back of my neck stand on end. I turned just in time to see something rise out of the water. It was huge, almost humanoid in shape, but with long, twisted limbs and a face that was a grotesque mockery of humanity. Its eyes glowed a sickly yellow, and its mouth was lined with razor-sharp teeth. "Run!" I shouted, but it was too late. The creature lunged at the bridge, its claws ripping through the ropes. The bridge snapped, and we went down, crashing into the water. The current was slow, but the creature was faster. It grabbed Ramirez, pulling him under. I saw his face, a mask of terror, as he was dragged into the depths. Lopez and I swam for our lives, but the creature was relentless. It grabbed her leg, pulling her back. She screamed, thrashing wildly, but it was no use. I grabbed a piece of the broken bridge, using it as a makeshift club, and struck at the creature. It roared, a sound that rattled my bones, and let go of Lopez. We scrambled out of the water, soaked and shivering, but alive. We didn't stop running. The jungle blurred around us, the shadows twisting into nightmarish shapes. I could hear the creature behind us, its growls growing closer, but I didn't look back. My body was running on pure adrenaline, my lungs burning with each breath. We stumbled into a clearing, the moonlight casting eerie shadows on the ground. There was a massive tree in the center, its roots twisting out of the earth like the claws of some ancient beast. We collapsed at the base, too exhausted to move, our bodies battered and bruised. The growls stopped. For a moment, I thought we were safe, but then the ground beneath us began to shift. The roots of the tree moved, coiling around our legs like snakes. We were trapped, and from the darkness of the jungle, the creature emerged. It towered over us, its breath hot and foul, its eyes burning with a malevolent hunger. Lopez fired, the muzzle flashes lighting up the night, but the bullets seemed to do nothing. The creature lunged, claws outstretched. I grabbed a fallen branch, sharp and jagged, and drove it into the creature's side. It let out a roar of pain, but it didn't stop. It grabbed Lopez, lifting her off the ground, and I heard her bones snap as it crushed her in its grip. I was alone. The creature turned its attention to me, its yellow eyes narrowing. I could see the blood on its claws, the remnants of my comrades. It moved slowly, savoring the moment. I closed my eyes, bracing for the end, but then there was a sound, the distant hum of a helicopter. The creature paused, its head turning towards the sound, seemed to hesitate, and in that moment I saw my chance. I grabbed Lopez's rifle and fired. The bullets tore into the creature's flesh, and it howled in pain. It turned and fled, disappearing into the jungle as the helicopter came into view. The chopper touched down, and I stumbled aboard, my body trembling with exhaustion and fear. As we lifted off, the jungle receded into the distance, but I knew I would never escape it. The memory of that place, of my comrades, of the creature, those would stay with me forever. And somewhere, deep in the heart of the Amazon, the creature was still out there, waiting for its next prey.